Hello everybody, Mobius1 here, bringing you another Star Wars Unlimited video. Last week in my How to Play video, I used Tabletop Simulator to go over the basics of how to actually play Star Wars Unlimited. In this one, I'm going to be using a website, forcetable.net, link in the video description, to actually play a couple games and show you what a full game of Star Wars Unlimited actually looks like. Now, I've been using this website, Forcetable, a lot since I've discovered it, and it is another unofficial way of playing Star Wars Unlimited online or digitally. However, it is against AI only, so you're not going to be able to play against your friends using this website, but it's still a really awesome tool to plug your decks into and just, without having to find another actual opponent, have somebody to play against and see how your decks perform. You can see here on the main menu screen that they do have 3 modes currently. We do have the quick match, which is Premier. We also have Sealed and Draft, which are only available to premium members, which you can become a premium member by joining their Patreon. I am actually a premium member, so I will be showing you these 2 modes in the future, but for now, we're going to stick with quick match, or like I said, Premier. And as you can see, I've already loaded quite a few of my own decks into the game. Including some decks with cards that have not actually released yet, because we are in the middle of spoiler season for set 2 of Star Wars Unlimited, Shadows of the Galaxy, and as the new cards that will be releasing this July are spoiled, the Forcetable admins have been adding them to the website so that we can play test them and see how good they are before the cards officially release. Again, that's all really cool and everything, but for this video, I think we're going to scroll down to the bottom here and go with just the 2 Spark of Rebellion starter decks, which are designed in such a way to kind of teach new players most of the mechanics that they'll see in the game later on. So I think in this video, we'll do 2 games. We'll start off playing with Luke Skywalker ourselves, so we're going to go ahead and click on the Luke Skywalker deck, and we'll select Player 1, which is always us. And then we'll have to choose a deck for our opponent, so we'll choose the Darth Vader starter deck and select Player 2. What's nice about Forcetable, currently, as I'm recording this because this is constantly changing, is you can then choose the AI's behavior. So you can, if you want them to play more aggressively, you can choose that. Or if you want them to play a more control style, you could choose this. I think for now, we'll just leave it on default. And then additionally, if you want a tougher challenge, you can customize AI bonuses, give them extra starting HP, starting resources, or even have them draw more than 2 cards per turn. We'll leave all of that standard just because we're going to try and show how a regular game works. And then you can choose a starting player, so either player 1, player 2, or random. We'll choose ourselves just for this to demonstrate how the game works. So we'll do this, we'll go ahead and click that. The game will start, decks will be shuffled, cards will be dealt. You can see the initiative counter is here on the left, indicating that we are in control of the initiative. And the game will ask you if you want to take a mulligan. Now, you can hover your mouse cursor over the cards at the bottom of the screen to see an enlarged version of them. And the question that I get asked most frequently so far from the people that have been trying to teach how to play this game is, how do I know whether or not to, A, whether to take a mulligan or not, and B, what cards should I be resourcing? And the difficult part of answering that question is it depends. But I can tell you what I look for, and I'm obviously not a professional card player or anything, but the way I play is I try to see whether or not I have some strong turn 1, turn 2, and maybe even turn 3 plays. So turn 1, we're going to be having 2 resources. So I look to see, do I have any cards that I could play with 2 resources? And in this case, I have 3. We have C-3PO, we have Rebel Pathfinder, and we actually have Asteroid Sanctuary down here. Now, Asteroid Sanctuary is an event, so that doesn't really count. We're not going to be putting that into the field. We could use it to exhaust an enemy unit and give a shield token to a friendly unit, but we're not going to have any friendly units in play turn 1, so I don't count events. We're looking really at units. In this case, we have C-3PO and Rebel Pathfinder. Rebel Pathfinder is a 2-cost 2/3 with Saboteur, and C-3PO is a 2-cost 1/4. With 1 played and on attack, you can choose a number. Look at the top card of your deck. If its cost is the chosen number, you may reveal and draw it. Otherwise, leave it on top of your deck. That's a pretty good turn 1 play for this deck. And yes, the starter decks they're not what I would call competitively viable decks. But again, they're meant for education purposes, so we'll have some fun with them. Yeah, so looking at these 2 cards, I think getting C-3PO out and trying to take advantage of his ability is probably better than playing Rebel Pathfinder. So we'll go ahead and consider C-3PO our turn 1 play. So let's now, real quick, take a look and see what 3-cost cards do we have to potentially play on turn 2. We have Wing Leader is the only 3-cost card in our hand. Windblade is a 3-cost 2/1. Windblade give 2 experience tokens to another friendly rebel unit. And as a reminder, an experience token is just a +1/+1 token. So is C-3PO a rebel unit? In fact, he is. So we can kind of see, all right, well, turn 1, we'll play C-3PO. Turn 2, we can play Wing Leader to buff C-3PO. That'll take him from a 1/4 to a 3/6. That's a really impressive body for turn 2. So I'm really liking this so far. Now we could look 1 turn further and say, all right, what are we going to play on turn 3 when we have 4 resources? And we don't have any 4 resource cost cards. We do have Repair, which is a 1 cost card that heals 3 from a unit or base. That's, you know, niche, useful. It could come in handy at some point, maybe, maybe not. But we do have Rebel Pathfinder still, is a 2, and Asteroid Sanctuary is a 2. So turn 3, when we have 4 resources, we don't have a 4-cost card to play, but we do have 2 2s, potentially, that we might be able to play. So, you know, after we play C-3PO on turn 1, we buff him up on turn 2. Turn 3 rolls around, we could play Asteroid Sanctuary, potentially exhausting an enemy unit, and giving a shield token to C-3PO. That's pretty legit. That's a pretty solid. Plus, we're going to be drawing additional cards by the time we get to turn 3, which is why I don't usually worry too much about having a solid turn 3 play, because we will, by the time we get there, we will draw 4 more cards. So I think this is a pretty good hand. I don't think this is worth mulliganing. So no, I will not take a mulligan. It looks like the AI is. All right, and then it was going to ask us to choose 2 cards to resource. Now, we know we don't want to get rid of C-3PO or the Wing Leader, and I'm thinking of holding on to Rebel Pathfinder and Asteroid Sanctuary. That's a pretty good turn 3 play. So in this case, Vanquish is a little too expensive to hold on to, in my opinion, this early in the game. It's a 5-cost card that all it does is defeat a unit. It's a good card, solid card in the right deck, but right now, 5 is a little expensive. And Repair is a little too situational. So let's go ahead and resource those 2 cards. So the AI resources 2 of their own. What's nice about Force Table is, again, you can hover your mouse cursor over anything to get an enlarged version of it. If you're unfamiliar with what a leader's ability is, you can even hover your cursor over the little eyeball icon on the leaders to see what their unit side looks like. If you want to, you know, get a little preview of what that is. So we have a menu on the left. We can either click or use the highlighted letters here as hotkeys to choose the different things or different actions we can take. So let's go ahead and choose play a card. Play which card. You can see they highlight. In Force Table, while it won't allow you to make any illegal moves, like obviously it's not highlighting Wing Leader here because we don't have 3 resources to play it, it will allow you to make some pretty illogical moves. For example, Asteroid Sanctuary. Exhaust an enemy unit and give a shield token to a friendly unit. Well, there are no units on the board, so there really isn't a reason for us to ever play this. However, Force Table will let you because it's technically a legal play. In addition to that, you'll see lots of cards have... Well, let's actually play C-3PO, and then I'll explain what I was just thinking. All right, so we played C-3PO. You can see he comes into play exhausted, sideways, and his ability is triggering because we played him. So we get to choose a number, look at the top card of our deck. If the cost of the card is the number we choose, we get to draw it. So let's go with... I don't know, let's go with 3. Hey, check it out. So top card of your deck is Fleet Lieutenant. He does, in fact, cost 3, so when we hit the X here to close this window... do we have the option? Do we want to reveal and draw the top card of the deck? Absolutely. So there we go. We revealed it to the AI, and we draw it. AI responds by playing a Death Star Stormtrooper. You can see our 2 resources have been exhausted. The enemy still has 1 resource left. If I had to guess, he's probably going to use Vader's action on his next turn to pay 1 resource because he played a villainy card this phase. He could deal 1 damage to a unit and 1 to the base. He's probably going to damage C-3PO, thinking that he'll bring 3PO down to 3 HP within range of Death Star Stormtroopers 3 power. Little does he know that we'll be buffing C-3PO out of range next round. Alright, we don't have anything that we can do, so we'll go ahead and take initiative. There he goes. He does in fact use Vader's ability to deal 1 damage to C-3PO and 1 to our base. So, units on Force Table will show their damage as little red numbers on the cards. The black number in the top right corner is simply an index number. It has no impact on gameplay whatsoever. It's literally just used by the program, the AI, or the website to keep track or to differentiate between potentially multiple copies of the same card. So it's literally just a track of what order the cards were played. So C-3PO was the first unit played, so he gets a 1. The Death Star Stormtrooper was the second card played, so he gets a 2, and so on. So as more units populate the board, you'll see higher and higher numbers in the top right corner. You can totally ignore them. They mean nothing as far as you're concerned. All right, so we draw 2 new cards at the beginning of the next round, or sorry, in the regroup phase at the end of the first round. So we got a Waylay, 3 cost, return a non-leader unit to its owner's hand. That's pretty good. And an Alliance X-Wing. Now, every time you draw cards, if you had a plan in mind, you need to now reevaluate. So we technically drew 3 cards because we got the Fleet Lieutenant off of 3PO's ability. But, so let's see, what could we potentially do? We have initiative, so we're going to be going first. We could waylay the Death Star Stormtrooper to get it off the board, but that's spending 3 resources to temporarily get rid of a 1 resource unit. That's not really great value for us. We'd like to target something more expensive with waylay. The Alliance X-Wings cost 2, probably not great because then that would leave us with, well, it would leave us with 1 resource floating, which we don't have any 1 resource cards, but we do have Luke Skywalker's ability, so we could spend that last resource to give the X-Wing a shield token. Not terrible, but I still really like our play of buffing C-3PO with Wing Leader. So, what do we want to get rid of? I like keeping the Alliance X-Wing because I like playing into space, and we're going to be playing the Wing Leader. So the Alliance X-Wing will be a good backup for the Wing Leader in space, considering Wing Leader is a really weak body. Rebel Pathfinder, 2 cost, 2/3. We now have another 3/3. We're going to have C-3PO be a really big body. I don't think we actually need Rebel Pathfinder right now. So let's go ahead and resource that. Alright, it's our turn. Normally, you want to try and get value out of your units by attacking with them before you play other cards. Generally speaking, that's a good idea. But in this case, we're going to be buffing C-3PO up. So let's go ahead and play our Wing Leader. It's going to ask us, who do you want to give 2 experience tokens to? So we can go ahead and click on C-3PO. And there we can see that he's got +2/+2. It says he's got 2 upgrades on him. You can always click on where it says 2 upgrades to see exactly what those 2 upgrades are. We can see that they're +1/+1 experience tokens. And what did... Oh, it looks like our opponent played Vader's lightsaber on the Death Star Stormtrooper. That's a really terrifying Stormtrooper. He is now a 6/2, which is strong enough to take out C-3PO. Now, we have a choice. We're going to attack. We can either attack his Stormtrooper, or we can attack his base. This kind of gets into strategy, which do you want to do, and you kind of have to think about what your opponent benefits more from. And I don't actually know, in this case, whether that opponent, whether the AI would prefer attacking our base or our unit. But I do know that we have a waylay. So if we choose to... We can't play it now, right, because we don't have resources. But if we attack his base, and then he decides to attack our base instead of... If we choose to attack his base, that means he could attack our unit, and both units will die, However, in that case, we've dealt 3 damage to the opponent's base, whereas if we just attack his unit, we both units will die, but we will not have done any damage to the base. So that's good for us to attack the base. If we attack the base, though, and he decides to attack our base, yes, our base will be taking 6 damage, which is quite a bit, but we can punish that greediness next turn by waylaying the Stormtrooper, because yes, I know I just mentioned waylaying a 1-cost unit is not great value, but waylaying a 1-cost unit with Darth Vader's lightsaber equipped to it is pretty good value, because that lightsaber will not go back to his hand, it will go in his discard pile. So let's see what the AI chooses to do. I'm going to choose to attack the base. We're going to do 3 damage to the base. Oh, first we get to pick a number again. Since we're going into turn 3, well, let's see. Since we're planning on playing Waylay, I'm going to guess 1 and hope that we get a 1-cost card. I actually don't know how many 1-cost cards are in this deck. That was 4. I should have done my other plan. It's a Consular Security Force. But now... Oh, you're right. So the Consular Security Force just stays on the top. All right, and there we go. So the AI chose to attack our base. We can take the initiative. The AI used Vader's ability to deal 1 damage to the Wing Leader and 1 to the base, so Wing Leader dies. That does make X-Wing, the Alliance X-Wing, a little less good. So let's take a look. Yeah, alright, so we don't have a good curve for if we choose to waylay anymore. Unfortunately, Luke's ability can only be used on a white or a heroism unit that was played this phase. So if we do choose to waylay, we're going to have 1 resource floating that we can't do anything with. That's not terrible, but it's not great. What else do we have that we can do? We could Asteroid Sanctuary and Alliance X-Wing. I kind of like that. So we can exhaust the Death Star Stormtrooper, meaning he'll still be on the board, but he won't be able to attack, and we'll give C-3PO a shield. Then we'll have 2 resources left with which we could play the Alliance X-Wing. I like that idea. So what can we resource? The Rogue Operative is a 3-cost 2/4 Saboteur with Raid 2, so it's a 4/4 when it attacks. That's not bad. Consular Security Force is just a vanilla 3/7 for 4. That's also not bad. Big body. We have a couple 3-cost cards already, so that's what I'm looking at now, is if we get rid of the Consular Security Force, that's going to leave us with 3 3-cost cards. I think, since it's kind of a toss-up between which of these 2 I want to get rid of, I'm going to get rid of the Rogue Operative because we already have other 3 costs. So let's do that. Alright, our turn again. We're going to go ahead and play a card. We're going to play Asteroid Sanctuary so that we can exhaust his Stormtrooper before it has a chance to attack. We'll exhaust that. Who do we want to give a shield token to? We'll give a shield token to C-3PO. Alright, and he played General Veers, which gives his other Imperial units +1/+1, so that Stormtrooper is now a crazy 7/3. That's a big boy. Yeah, we're going to get rid of that soon, but, well, we could get rid of it now, right? Because now C-3PO has 3 upgrades on him, because we just gave him that shield token, which means C-3PO is a 3/6, right? So we do the math, you kind of have to look. So, right, he has 1 attack, so +2, so that's 3 attack. 4 health +2 is 6 attack, but this 1, we have to remember he's got 1 damage on him, so he's technically a 3/5 with a shield. This Stormtrooper only has 3 health, so why don't we go ahead and get some value out of C-3PO now and just kill this Stormtrooper. Let's pick a number. We'll pick 3 again. It's 2. Alright, so we don't get to draw the X-Wing, but we do kill the Stormtrooper and don't take any damage back because of the shield. Alright, and you can see the shield upgrade is now gone. He used Vader's ability again to deal 1 damage to C-3PO, so he's now back down to 4 health. And we have 2 resources left to play something. Let's go ahead and play the X-Wing. Alright, and he ended up taking the initiative. So now all we can do is pass, and the AI is going to get to act first. Alright, we drew an Alliance X-Wing and Leia Organa, which is a 2-cost 2/2. When played, either ready a resource or exhaust a unit. Both really good effects. What do we want to do this turn? So he's got Veers in play, which is the 3/3. C-3PO could trade with him, which isn't bad. Actually, it's not even a trade because C-3PO's got 4 HP left. So Veers isn't really a problem. We're going to be going into 5 resources. So ideally, I'd like to play one of my 3s and one of my 2s. So which 2 is better, or which two? Like, both of these could potentially be good. I really like Fleet Lieutenant because it's good action economy, right? Because you're playing a card, but then you get to attack right away. So that's really strong. Waylay could be really strong in the future, so I want to hold on to both of these. When I look at the 2s I have, the Alliance X-Wing is a 2-3 that does nothing, and Leia is a 2-2 that does something really interesting. Plus, we already have an Alliance X-Wing in play, so I think that's a strong candidate to resource. Let's get rid of it. Let's see what the opponent chooses to do first. They put a Vader's lightsaber on Veers. Now, that brings Veers' HP to 4, which is now out of range of C-3PO. Plus, it gives him 6 attacks. So we have a choice. We could either waylay Veers, which we're paying 3 to get rid of a 3, plus we're destroying the lightsaber, which is pretty strong. Alternatively, we could Fleet Lieutenant C-3PO, buff C-3PO by the +2 attack that Fleet Lieutenant gives, and then kill Veers. The AI's only got 3 resources remaining, so if we do waylay Veers, he could potentially just replay him, but that's all he's going to be able to do this turn. I kind of like that idea, because that leaves our Fleet Lieutenant in our hand to play on something else, potentially, in the future. So let's do that. We'll go ahead and waylay Veers. So the lightsaber gets added to the discard pile. All right, you can also click, by the way, on discard piles to see both yours and your opponent's what cards have been added to it already, because the discard pile is open information. All right, and he ended up using his ability to deal 1 damage to the X-Wing, which I don't think is an incredibly strong play. Now, what... oh, Leia is a heroism, so what we can do now, we can play Leia for 2. We can choose the Ready Resource ability to get one of our resources back. The AI just claimed the initiative, so we're free to do as many actions as we want. I'm going to choose to do an action ability. We can, now that we have 1 resource free, we can use Luke's ability to give a heroism unit a shield, and we can give Leia a shield. So now she's a 2-2 with a shield. We can go ahead and attack the base with the X-Wing. Attack the base with C-3PO. We have to choose a number. Let's choose 3. I really like 3. Yeah, we got another one. Good. We get to draw another Fleet Lieutenant. Deal 3 to the base with C-3PO, and then we pass. All right, we drew a Resilient, which is a 1-cost upgrade that gives a unit 3 HP, and Chewbacca, which is a 5-cost 3/6 with Sentinel. And then when this unit is attacked, we get to ready him. All right, we're going into 6. The fleet, or Consular Security Force, is 4. That doesn't leave us with much to do. We could do 5 and 1. We'd be able to play Chewbacca and then give something 3 extra HP. Giving Chewbacca 3 extra HP is a pretty good play considering he has Sentinel. So let's do that. We'll go ahead and get rid of one of the Fleet Lieutenants because we have a second one. Whenever you have 2 of a unit, that's usually not a bad choice to resource. While there's absolutely nothing wrong with us playing 2 Fleet Lieutenants, they're not unique units, right? Like Leia, remember the little diamond to the left of her name indicates that she's a unique unit, so we could only have 1 of her in play at a time. We could totally have 2 Fleet Lieutenants in play at a time, but if you've got multiple of the same card, it's a pretty good option most of the time to resource one of them to keep some sense of flexibility. All right, so he played Super Laser Technician. 3 cost, 2/1. That's when defeated, they may put it into play as a resource and ready it. So if this thing dies, he's going to go from 6 resources to 7, which, by the way, is exactly how many they need to deploy Darth Vader. So we do not want to kill this, because if we kill this, he's going to be able to deploy his leader. Now, I've played against the AI enough to know what's coming next. See, Super Laser Technician is a villainy unit, right? It's got the command and villainy aspects. Vader's ability lets him deal 1 damage to a unit and 1 damage to a base if he played a villainy card this phase. So I can guarantee you this AI is going to ping his own Super Laser Technician for 1 damage, killing it, bringing him to 7 resources, and deploying Vader. That's my prediction. We're at 6 resources. We can actually deploy Luke Skywalker right now. I'm just thinking if there's a better course of action, because while I was thinking we could play Chewbacca and then put Resilient on him, we could also play Chewbacca and then give him a shield, which I think I like that better. So let's try and get that Sentinel out before Vader comes into play. So we'll play Chewbacca. There he goes with his ping. He's going to defeat his own Super Laser Tech, make it a resource, so we can expect Darth Vader to come into play next. And he's going to have 5 attack, plus he can do 2 damage to a unit. Chewbacca's at 6 health. Let's go ahead and give Chewbacca a shield. Oh, okay, so he deployed a cell block guard first, which is 3 cost 3/3 with Sentinel. Let's get rid of that with C-3PO, because we have to attack the Sentinel. Let's choose 2. Oh, it's R2-D2. He's only 1. Okay. Alright, so that leaves C-3PO with 1 HP. He's going to go ahead and deploy Vader. So Vader, again, is a 5/8. On attack, he may deal 2 damage to a unit. So he has to attack Chewbacca because he has Sentinel. He'll probably use the 2 damage that he gets to do on attack to defeat Chewbacca's shield. And then the 5 damage from the actual attack will hit Chewbacca, but he's got 6 HP, so he'll live. So let's go ahead and deploy Luke. Oh, he decided to take initiative. That's interesting. So we have a choice. We can either use... Well, let's see. What do we have? We can only do 4 with Luke and then 2 with Leia, so we actually don't have enough damage to take out Vader. So I think now's a good opportunity to just load as much damage onto the opponent's base as possible. So we're just going to send everything we've got at the base and hope that we've got enough units in play that we can overwhelm Vader. I don't think, despite how dangerous of a threat Darth Vader actually is, I don't think he's got enough damage on board to actually be able to stop us from just pushing for lethal. And additionally, when we get to attack with Luke Skywalker, we get to give another unit a shield token. So when we attack the base here, we can actually put a second shield token on Chewbacca. So now Chewbacca has 2 shield tokens on him. I don't think Vader's getting through that anytime soon. We'll go ahead and pass. We drew our R2-D2 and a second consular security force. Now, we don't actually even need to resource. Once you get your hero out, you're at the point where you can consider whether or not resourcing is worth it or not. So we have 6. What do we really want to play here? I think playing the Fleet Lieutenant would be a good move. Since we're trying to push for lethal, if we need that extra 2 damage, that might come in handy. So that'll leave us with 3. Which is enough to play R2-D2 and Resilient, which are not great. R2-D2 is only a 1/4. Resilient doesn't really help us push for damage. The Consular Security Force would be good to play. So, in this case, I know I recently just said, literally, that if you have 2 of the same card, one of those is a good option to resource. But I think getting rid of Resilient here and keeping both Consular Security Forces is probably better, because we could play a Fleet Lieutenant and 1 CSF this turn, and then we have another CSF to play next turn. And Resilient, like I said, is not going to help us push for lethal here, and that's what we're trying to do. So I think we should go ahead and resource that. Ooh, okay, so he played Blizzard Assault AT-AT for 8. When this unit attacks and defeats a unit, you may deal the excess damage from this attack to an enemy ground unit, and it's a 9/9. That's terrifying. So we need to defeat him now. I'm going to play Fleet Lieutenant, and I'm going to use its buff on Luke Skywalker, and we're going to hit the base for 6, and we're going to give Chewbacca a 3rd shield, because since he has Sentinel, and our opponent would have to attack him, we want to keep him alive as long as possible. So stacking shield units on him, in this case, is not a bad idea. Now, before everybody explodes in the comments, I'm only doing that because I don't believe this deck has any way to handle, to like bounce a unit. Now, remember earlier when we played Waylay on the opponent's Veers, we did that because I knew it would defeat the lightsaber that was put on that card, right? Now, if our opponent had a card like Waylay, and they were able to send Chewbacca back to our hand, these 3 shield tokens would go bye-bye. And that would leave us very vulnerable. So, doing this is not always a great move, but in this case, I'm familiar enough with my opponent's deck that I know that this is probably okay. I understand that doesn't help a lot of new people, so if you're new, I would suggest maybe distributing these shield tokens to different units to help keep more of your field alive. But considering Chewbacca has Sentinel, he would have to attack Chewbacca. He doesn't have any resources left to play anything this turn, and he probably would have sent Chewbacca back to my hand or done something to him anyway. I feel pretty confident or comfortable doing what I'm doing. That being said, let's try and push for as much damage as we can. I'm going to choose to attack with Chewbacca here, even though, all right, so the opponent just took the initiative. But keep in mind what your unit's abilities are as well. So Chewbacca's ability is when this unit is attacked, ready him. Now, if we want to take advantage of that ability, he has to be exhausted. Can't ready a unit that's already readied. So technically, I probably should have used Fleet Lieutenant to attack with Chewbacca first. So that we could get him exhausted as soon as possible. That way, if the opponent decided to attack him with Darth Vader, he would have readied up again and been able to attack a second time. In this case, it doesn't really matter because, look, we're going to attack with the X-Wing, and we're going to attack with C-3PO. It doesn't matter what number we guess here. We'll guess 2. That was a 4, and that's 30 damage, and we defeated the opponent's base. So that's a victory for us. Yay. All right, we'll go ahead and load new decks. We'll do a quick switch. So we'll send player 2 to Luke Skywalker, and we'll take Darth Vader for player 1, and we'll do a random starting player. All right, so you can see initiative is on their side, so the AI is going to start first this time. Let's take a look at our hand. We've got Overwhelming Barrage, which is a great 5-cost event that gives a friendly unit +2/+2 for the phase. Then it deals damage equal to its power divided as you choose among any number of other units. Great, great event. We got the Super Laser Technician that we saw earlier, that when it dies becomes a resource. First Legion Snowtroopers, not a great card in my opinion. 2 cost 2/3 while attacking a damaged unit. This gains +2 attack and overwhelm. It can be okay, but it's not great. Open Fire, 3-cost event, deal 4 damage to a unit. It's pretty good. Relentless, 9-cost Star Destroyer, 8/8. The first event played by each opponent each opponent each round loses all abilities. Pretty good card, but very expensive. And Admiral Piet, 2-cost 1/4. Each friendly non-leader unit that costs 6 or more gains Ambush. Could be really strong later in the game. Actually, these 2 cards pair really well together, right? Because Piet would give Relentless Ambush. All right, so turn 1 play. Well, First Legion Snowtrooper is the only turn 1 play, but a 2-cost 2/3 on turn 1's not terrible. Turn 2 play, we have either the Super Laser Technician or Open Fire. Now, getting Super Laser Technician out early is very good because when it dies, it becomes a resource. So the sooner we can get more resources in play, the better we'll be able to outplay our opponent or out-tempo them. We don't have a 4-cost card to play, but I think that's okay. And I already know which 2 cards I want to resource in this case. So Relentless is way too expensive. You don't want to be holding on to a 9-cost card, or really anything that costs, I would say, 7 or more. You could even go as low as 6. I would say anything in your opening hand that costs 6 to 7 or more resources are really good candidates for resourcing, because you just don't want cards that you're not going to be able to play in the early turns clogging up your hand for that long. And Piet, while he is only a 2-cost card, his ability doesn't really benefit us until we're playing cards that cost 6 or more. So yes, technically we could play him early, but he's not doing much for us until later in the game anyway. So these 2 cards, despite the fact that they pair really well together, are actually great options to resource. So no, I will not take a mulligan, and I will resource these 2 cards. Okay, so he plays Rebel Pathfinder, the 2-cost 2/3. We're going to respond with our own 2-cost 2/3 with the 1st Legion Snowtrooper. They take initiative, we'll pass. Alright, so we drew a 1-cost TIE Fighter. It's just a 1-cost 2/1 space unit. And Gladiator Star Destroyer, 6-cost 5/6 space unit. When played, give a unit Sentinel for this phase. I think we're going to go ahead and resource the Star Destroyer because I really want to play Super Laser Technician. Like, really bad. And this is a 6-cost card. We're not going to be able to play it for another 3 turns. Let's go ahead and get rid of it. Okay, so he attacks our base with the Rebel Pathfinder. Let's go ahead and just play our Super Laser Technician now. And he gives Resilient to the Rebel Pathfinder. That's unfortunate because I was going to attack with the Snowtrooper. So now his Pathfinder is a 2/6. We'll go ahead and attack the base for now. We might have a use for the Snowtrooper here in a moment. Alright, he plays R2-D2. So he gets to look at the top card of his deck. He can either leave it on the top of his deck or put it on the bottom. And he chose to... Does it say? Oh, it doesn't say. It doesn't tell us what he chose to do. Or maybe he didn't do it at all. I don't know. But because he played R2-D2, we can now take the initiative. Oh, and he's giving a shield to R2-D2. Alright, so R2-D2 is now a 1/4 shielded. Alright, we drew Admiral Mahdi. 2-cost 1/1. When defeated, you may ready a villainy unit. Or Admiral Ozzel, 2-cost 2/3, and he can, as an action, play an Imperial unit from your hand. It enters play ready. Each opponent may ready a unit. Interesting. Mahdi can be useful. In this case, what are we going to play? We're going to have 4. I think the open fire TIE Fighter combo is probably a good play, and then we'll have Overwhelming Barrage next turn. So let's go ahead and get rid of Mahdi. Okay, we really... Oh, I forgot. We're going to get a resource out of this. I actually totally messed that up. Because I forgot we can suicide our Super Laser Technician and immediately go to 5 and play Overwhelming Barrage right now. Yeah, we probably should, I probably should have paid attention to that. Oh well. Alright, I don't really care much about R2-D2. I do want to get rid of this guy. If we get rid of this guy, or if we attack into this guy, he's going to go down to 4. And then he'll be damaged, and this will gain... Oh, that's so good. Alright, so check this out. When we attack the Rebel Pathfinder with the Super Laser Technician, that's going to take the Super Laser Technician down to 4 HP. It's going to ask us if we want to play the Super Laser Tech as a resource. We'll say yes. So that takes us to 5. Oh, interesting play, buddy. Interesting play. So he decided to attack our Snowtrooper with the Pathfinder. So the Pathfinder only has 2 health now. But our Snowtrooper, if we attack a damaged unit, gains +2 attack and overwhelm. So let's go ahead and do that onto the Rebel Pathfinder. Now the Pathfinder only has 2 health left. Our Snowtrooper is going to deal 4 damage to it, right? So 2 plus the 2 it gets. And overwhelm means any excess damage is going to carry over to the base. So when we attack this guy, it's going to deal 4 to him. But it's only 2 is needed. So 2 more is going to be dealt to the base. There we go. All right. Now we don't have anything to play Overwhelming Barrage on, so this kind of everything changes. We're gonna play Ozzel. Played Cloud City Wingguard, which is a 3-cost 2/4 Sentinel. We can go ahead and play the TIE Fighter, and then I'm gonna use Darth Vader's ability to deal 1 damage to a unit and 1 damage to a base. We'll do let's do 1 damage to R2-D2 to pop his shield, and then 1 damage to the base. And then we'll pass. Alright, so we've got a Sentinel to deal with. He's got 4 HP. We could just play open fire to get rid of it. That's probably not a bad play. So that's going to leave us with 2 resources. Then we could play a Death Star Stormtrooper and use Vader's ability. Oh no, so it could leave us with 3 if we resource something. Yeah, sure. Okay, we'll get rid of the Death Star Stormtrooper. That way we could play Ozzel. Really? This guy makes interesting trades. But we don't need to play open fire anymore. We can just trade with Ozzel. Or we can use his ability. Yeah, let's see what happens if we do this. So we're going to use Ozzel's ability to play an Imperial unit and ready it. So we can play Veers and ready him. Now, because we got to do that, the opponent got to ready their Cloud City Wing Guard, so then they just attacked Veers with the Wing Guard. But now we can play open fire and deal 4 damage to R2-D2, getting rid of R2-D2. Alright, he plays Consular Security Force. He's got 1 resource left. He's probably going to give them a shield token, which means we're not getting rid of these guys anytime soon. Let's go ahead and just do as much damage to the base as we can. Here comes the shield token. Now, we do have a choice here. We could attack with the TIE Fighter and deal 3 damage to the base, or we could take initiative. Because if we look at our opponent's board state, they've got no resources. They've already used their leader. They can't deploy their leader yet. And they've got no units to attack with, which means they are going to be taking the initiative next. So in this case, what is more valuable to us? Dealing 3 damage to the base or claiming initiative? And in this specific case, I think dealing the 3 damage is probably better because we're already ahead on damage. We're closer to defeating the opponent's base than they are. And there isn't really a great move for us at the beginning of the next turn. Like if we had something to get rid of the Consular Security Force before it had a chance to attack us, claiming initiative would be more tempting. But because it's got a shield, Overwhelming Barrage, there's nothing Overwhelming Barrage can do to get rid of that, and I don't know what we're going to be drawing next. So I think squeezing that extra 3 damage out of the TIE Fighter was probably worth it. Let's see if I'm wrong. Alright, so we got a Viper Probe Droid and an ATST. I really like the ATST in this case, and I still really like Overwhelming Barrage. And I really want to resource something, because getting up to 7 resources will allow us to deploy Vader. So we're saying goodbye. See, okay. I almost just ditched the Viper Probe Droid, but if we ditch the ATST, we could do Overwhelming Barrage and the Probe Droid. That's 7. Oh, we could do ATST and Vader's ability, though. That's also 7. Yeah, no, I'm going with my original instinct and I'm getting rid of the Probe Droid. He's repairing his base. Interesting first move. I would have attacked with the Consular Security Force first. I think getting Veers off the field and getting rid of the buffs that all my units have probably be a better play. Actually, in this case, check this out. We can use Ozzel's ability to play the ATST and ready it, and the opponent doesn't get to benefit from the downside of Ozzel's action, because normally the opponent would get to ready a unit, but they didn't have anyone to ready, so that was a really good play. Now, let's go ahead and use Vader's ability, because we played a villainy card. We can deal 1 damage to a unit and a base. We're going to deal 1 damage to the Consular Security Force, pop their shield, and 1 to the base. He played an X-Wing that really counters our TIE Fighter. We could trade here, but because we have, see, Veers could die, and then the TIE Fighter would, no, see, I'm just gonna attack the base. We just want to push for damage at this point. We're ahead enough that sending everything to base is probably the best play. Except I just realized that Luke has 7 health. The ATST normally does 6, but Veers buffs it to a 7 attack unit. It has 8 health currently, 7 base plus the 1 from Veers. Luke only does 4 damage. We'll go ahead and kill Luke with the ATST. Oh, and we still can deploy Vader. Alright, so we get to deploy Vader. We can attack the base. And deal 2 damage to the X-Wing to pop the shield. Yeah, oh, that was close. We almost had lethal. Well, we definitely have him in this turn, though. Alright, so we just passed. Oh, we drew Vader's lightsaber, too. That's amazing. And the Imperial Interceptor, which is a great card. 4 cost, 3/2 space. When played, deal 3 damage to a space unit. We don't need a resource here. He put Luke's lightsaber on the Consular Security Force. We'll go ahead and put Vader's lightsaber on Vader. We get to deal 4 damage to a ground unit, so 4 damage to them. Vanquish, so he's getting rid of somebody. Oh, he got rid of our TIE Fighter. That, you know, if you could choose any unit here to get rid of course you would choose the TIE Fighter. Not the ATST that's got 7 attack and overwhelm. Not Veers, which is buffing everybody. Granted, he couldn't get rid of Vader because Vanquish only defeats non-leader units, but still. Then we'll have a little bit of fun. We'll play Overwhelming Barrage. Actually, this is educational, so we're going to play Overwhelming Barrage on Vader. So that's going to buff Vader by +2/+2. Then we get to distribute Vader's damage amongst other units as we please. So which unit to target to deal up to 11 damage. So if we do 3 damage to this X-Wing, that's enough to kill it. Alright, so now we have 8 damage left to do. Now let's do some quick math. Consular Security Force normally has 7 HP. It has Luke's lightsaber on it, which brings it up to 8 HP. It already has 4 damage on it, which means it only has 4 HP remaining. So let me show you something that if you guys are going to be playing on Force Table, you probably want to know. Which is if I choose this unit and I type 4, that's enough damage to kill it. And then it wants me to damage my own units. And that's because I have not finished distributing all of the damage from Overwhelming Barrage yet. So the only way, and you can't cancel this. There's no backing out of this. I have to deal 4 damage to something. So we're just going to deal the last remaining 4 damage to Ozzel. So what you need to do is if your opponent only has 1 unit remaining, you need to make sure that when you click on that unit, you deal all of the remaining damage to that unit, even if it's more than necessary, just so that there's no damage left over. All right. But it doesn't matter because with Vader, we'll pass on his extra damage. With Vader dealing 11 damage, that was enough to defeat the base anyway. So that is playing Star Wars Unlimited on Force Table. Again, I'll put the link to the website in the video description. You can export your decks from Star Wars swudb.com, which is a deck building website. You can go over to that website. I'll include a link to that as well. If you register on that website, you can create your own decks. Maybe I'll do a video on this in the future too. But you can create decks on that website, and then there's a link on that website to export them directly to Force Table, which is great. And then, yeah, it's just a really cool tool to play around and see how your decks do against an AI. So, hope you guys found this video entertaining and a little bit educational. Hope you guys are interested in learning more about Star Wars Unlimited, more content to come in the future. Again, if you want to talk about it, or if you want to find people to play with, join my Discord, link in the description. If you like the video, please leave a like and a comment. I appreciate it, and it'll help out the algorithm, help these videos reach more people in the future. Thank you for watching. Mobius1 here. I'll see you in the next one.